welcome back to Interjections International Break Edition. I'm your host, Andrew. Miko, Jay, and Irfan with me. Miko, what's up?
Yeah, happy to be back, and thanks for Sterling for backing me up. And I want to mention one thing I learned from the previous episode. I learned that this podcast can talk about a missed chance in a 4-0 game happening at 90th minute and talk about it for 10 minutes. But other than that, it was a great stuff.
It was nice not having you last week, Miko. We could just be fully negative without your annoying positivity around.
I know.
I don't see what's wrong with discussing the critical details of a match, the most important things,
Speaking of negativity, hello, Jay.
Good evening, morning. It's getting unseasonably warm here in oppressive Sydney, so let's just get on with it.
Irfan, how's the view from your bed this morning?
Yeah, things are looking pretty good. As you know, as you're well aware, football season's in full effect here in the United States. The real football, the American football. So, looking forward to a good weekend. And I'll do Jay's betting tips for this week. Just root for the Bears and spend all your money on the Bears to win every Sunday.
Get out.
I think we can all, Lions fans and Bears fans, can come together and saying ha 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 Packers.
Yes. You never root for an injury. You never applaud an injury occurring, but there's some history here. So we'll at best just be a little smug and sit on the sidelines for this one.
All right. Now that we've lost all of our non-American audience members, we can get into some football. So I want to start by just briefly hitting on Italy's Nations League win over France. 3-1. Italy comes away victorious. It was their first win in France in like 65 years. And a very funny thing happened, which was Inter players were played in their correct positions and they scored 2 goals. So Spalletti came out earlier this week and said he was done toying around with this dumb 4-3-3, 4-2-3-1 thing, and he was going to firmly switch to playing 3 at the back. And lo and behold, he put Inter players in their best positions. DeMarco scored a great goal. Frattesi scored a nice goal and should have scored a couple more. He had a crossbar. Magnan had a great save. It was a really impressive performance. And after the initial howler by Di Lorenzo, we'll get into that, it was really one-way traffic. Italy controlled the match, and this was a mostly full-strength French team. Mbappe played, Griezmann played. They really, these were full-strength lineups for the most part. We talked about how Barella wasn't playing. So I feel vindicated after watching that match because, like I told you guys back when Italy lost to Switzerland, I really don't think this is a talent problem. Is the talent pool as deep for Italy as it is for France or Spain? No, but it's deep enough that this team should look better than they did this past summer. It's deep enough that a World Cup qualification should not be in doubt. So Spalletti woke up, he put his players in the right positions, and they looked good doing it. The big takeaways in the media right now are praise for the midfield. So Jorginho has been banished to oblivion, and Cristante was not called up. As a result, Tonali, back from his betting ban, started in the kind of central midfielder role, and then he was flanked by Ricci from Torino. And both players are being heavily praised, along with Frattesi for dominating the midfield in that match. Tonali did not look like he missed a beat coming back from his suspension, dominated the tempo of the game, pace of the play. But really, Ricci is the one who's being universally praised for what they're calling a mature performance. And watching this guy, this is someone, he played in a role he doesn't normally play for Torino, a little more free roaming, a little more attacking. And yeah, he looked great doing it. He's definitely someone you'd want to see at Inter in the future, or at least hopefully not at Juventus. So Miko, I know you watched this game. I know you have some thoughts on it. How are you feeling after Italy's 3-1 win?
Yeah, Italy played really well, and I would have said that even if it was like France leading after the first half, because uh, Italy was able to play the ball, and like you explained, the midfield was working great, and maybe the attack is that's the only part which might be missing a bit, but when the pieces are on the right places, you can like utilize all the good qualities of these players well enough so that you can even beat France like this. Uh, I have to comment that I think France didn't have their best lineup. They missed like this. What is this Real Madrid midfielder they have? I don't remember his name. So
Camavinga,
yeah, Kamavinga as well, but the other guy, what the
Chouameni.
Tuamani, yeah, that one.
But they did have their big three of Magnan, Teo Hernandez, and Fofana.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I saw Magnan complaining about their performance and how there was maybe two Italy players would make it to the France team. I don't know who they are, but maybe Donnarumma is other one. But yeah, uh, it was funny. Well, maybe we come back to the Di Lorenzo howler later, but but yeah, I was impressed how well, or okay, I wasn't impressed. I was like, okay, this is how how you should do it with Dimarco, for example, how he can be so much better when you when you use him correctly and not with the four-man defense. But we talked about this a lot in the summer in the Euro episode already. But yeah, it was a nice performance, and I think Spalletti, hopefully he understands now what's the correct way to do this now, and yeah, he even missed Parella there, so I think he should have this under his control now.
If you want to talk about this a bit more from an Inter perspective, we know that Barella missed the game. He was having that surgery on his nose. So Frattesi started as the right central midfielder next to Tonali and Ricci. I think I confused the two earlier. I think Ricci was the one playing in the middle. But regardless, Frattesi started the right center midfielder, aka the position Barella normally played. And he looked really good. He was involved in the attack all night. So Irfan, what's your takeaway, if any? Frattesi made a few comments after the match that he's just not at full fitness because he hasn't played as many minutes. Do you think his best position is as the vice Barella going forward?
Yeah, I think that's probably right. I I was happy with his performance for Italy. I think he played really well. But the team setup and the way they play, even though they played three in the back, is a little bit different than the way Inzaghi plays. I mean, they were basically still running one striker. They had Retegui out there. Pellegrini was kind of still in a weird sort of role, which I don't like him in. And so I think Frattesi didn't have to do a lot of the kind of work that Inzaghi usually demands from one of his midfield three. So I do think that the setup suited him better in Italy than it might suit him in Inzaghi's setup. But I thought he played really well. He's so dangerous going forward. He's so dangerous just implementing and supplementing and helping the attack. So he brings a lot to the table. I still think that ultimately I would like to see him start at Inter, just given how much we paid for him and given the talent that he does have, and I think the expectations that he has for his career. I think he's going to get very frustrated if he's deployed solely as a sub for Barella. But again, I don't. There's no signs. We talked about this last week. There's no signs of Inzaghi relenting and phasing out Mkhitaryan. So I don't really know where else Frattesi can play. One quick note on the Italy performance: it was so frustrating for me to watch, mainly just because I understand that so much of the credit would have gone to Tonali and to Ricci, who I did think both played really well. Tonali also. I can say it without being begrudging now because he's not a Milan player. So no issue giving him the compliment that he deserves for that performance. Same with Ricci. But so much of it was just about Spalletti finally just getting his head out of his ass. Like there's no reason Italy with the personnel they had couldn't play this way in the summer, and the fact that it took him this long to figure out that this is the way he needs to play and this is how he needs to utilize the players, especially the Inter players, was extremely, extremely maddening. And I know we'll talk about Di Lorenzo, but if you have a back three, I don't understand why you put Di Lorenzo in that back three. I think you could pull, 19 out of 20 Serie A managers and probably 90% of the Serie A fans, and not a single one of them would have Di Lorenzo starting in a back three. So there's still some things about Spalletti that are so obviously maddening, but this was a comprehensive and good performance. France was, you look at that team that they had out there, and they were set up to win. Olise and Barcola are no jokes for them on the attacking side with Mbappe. So I think the team deserves a lot of credit. Italy deserves a lot of credit, but man, Spalletti is still so frustrating to watch. You're just like, what are you doing with this personnel? I don't get it.
But who would you put there then? Gatti?
Well, no, absolutely not. He's too slow. The
Darmian?
best. Yes, that's a viable option if you really don't want to play Di Lorenzo. The long-term option is Scalvini, right?
Yeah, exactly. I was gonna say Scalvini. I would even roll the dice with like a Buongiorno or somebody there. I know.
I'm pretty sure Buongiorno is left-footed.
Yeah,
he's left-footed.
I would rotate. Is Calafiori left-footed too? Like put Calafiori
Yes.
there.
Yeah.
Tony, Calafiori, and Buongiorno are all left-footed. It's a bit of a paradox.
Yeah.
But still, I feel like for
unfortunate.
for the central three, do you really care that much? You're not going to have somebody always supplementing an attack, and I feel like if right or left-footed shouldn't make that huge of a difference. But yeah, you got to find something better than Di Lorenzo. I don't care who it is.
They called up some kid who plays for Leicester City. I've never heard of this guy. He has the least Italian name possible. His name is Caleb Okoli.
Yeah.
I genuinely have no idea who this guy is, but he's the only other center back they called up who could maybe play on the right side. So I have a feeling we'll be seeing Di Lorenzo against Israel tomorrow.
Ugh. That's fine. At least, like you said, Cristante's gone. Jeez.
Okoli played for Frosinone. He was an Atalanta player, fairly highly rated as a youth. I had no idea that he went to Leicester City though.
He's only 23.
Young
guy.
Okay. Yeah, I do not remember this guy at Frosinone at all.
I didn't watch the match, so I can't really comment on the performances, but had a few kind of questions. One was, or rather observations / questions. Was Bastoni always in the middle, or was Calafiori in the middle in Euro?
Bastoni was in the middle.
Bastoni in the middle.
Yeah, he was in the middle, this one, and the Euros as well.
Well, at the Euro, they mostly played like a back four.
Yeah.
Calafiori and Bastoni were usually together in the back four.
Yeah, fair enough. Forget Italy for a second. I'm curious about France. Why did Pavard not play? It didn't look like he was even called up.
I believe he's contemplating retirement from the national team.
I was actually going to say he should retire if he's not even getting picked up for these kinds of games, And it's not like they played Kunde, who's their first choice. They played Klaus, so you'd hope Pavard can get picked over Klaus, even though France played with a four at the back. But yeah, I don't know. Pivoting back to Italy, Ricci's a player I've liked for a long time. If the time ever comes for us to move on from Cialanoli, which is probably not that likely given he's only 30, Ricci is a really good candidate for that role, I reckon. And I got to say, it would be great if he did not move to a Juventus or Milan, but we'll see what happens there.
I don't know if Ricci can beat out Slani for that role, but we'll see.
I think he's going to cost more than 10 million, so he's out of the Oak Tree project.
Yeah, I was about to comment that he's probably already like 30 millions. Isn't he at Torino?
Yeah, wasn't he going to Lazio or something at some point? No? Okay.
Yeah, but I don't know. But isn't he at Torino at the moment? Yeah.
Yeah, he's been at Torino for a while.
I think there's no way to get him for under 30 million anymore after this performance. I think Cairo will be ready to squeeze every euro there. So
I don't know if there's a club worse at selling than Inter, but if there is, it's Torino. Sincerely, they once had Belotti valued at 100 million and lost him for free.
yeah, but then we remember the Bremer deal. They
Yeah, I
made
was just gonna say
quite
that.
a good money with that sale. So
Uh,
I'm afraid the Richie is gone for us. But let's hope. Because yeah, I think an Irfan won't like this, but I think Richie would be exactly what we need in place of Aslani, and Aslani can just like
Oh, you mean he's good?
Look, I'm fine with Ricci. You know, I love my Italian players. But the need is still to figure out a way to phase out Mkhitaryan, and there's nobody on God's great earth who can do that for Inzaghi. So
That was the biggest politician-like question. Avoiding the question by just changing the topic that I've ever seen.
you can tell this guy is a professional lawyer.
That's right.
And that was some A-tier gaslighting. Where criticizing Aslani is like, look, the problem here is Mkhitaryan. It's
The previous administration screwed up everything. I'm just trying to fix it.
Yeah, let me
right.
tell you what I'm really worried about, which is yeah.
All right. Well, we don't need to belabor the point on Italy, but happy they're back on track. Maybe they'll qualify for the next World Cup. We'll have to wait and see.
And no coincidence that this happened without Scamacca. Just saying, I think it's time you had a moment, Andrew, to really kind of.
I was actually going to say, like, Retegui,
Sucks.
as kind of limited as he looks, I think he's somewhat
Awake.
He's somewhat more compatible. He feels like he's more involved than Scamacca. Like, there's no question Scamacca's a significantly more naturally talented player, but his constant problem is that he seems to get lost and just disappear in games, whereas Retegui, limited though he might be, he just seems more functional. He seems to be involved more, gets involved with the link up a bit more. It's kind of like, in my opinion, a decent comparison between like Lautaro and Vlahovic. Like, I think Vlahovic is a significantly more talented player than Lautaro, but Lautaro just seems to be, especially last season, involved in the thick of it, getting involved in the build up and just always there to receive the ball, whereas Vlahovic is kind of getting just lost in the game like Scamacca tends to get. So that's my take on Retegui. I think he's got that functionality there, which is why I really do think he's probably, even if Scamacca is fit, I think Retegui is probably going to be Spalletti's choice moving forward.
Scamacca has the ability to wow you. He can pull a rabbit out of a hat, long range shot, something like that. They'll just dazzle you, and it looks great on a highlight reel. Retegui really lacks technical ability, but he works hard. He's like that. He is the perfect Conte player, right? He's gonna run around like a chicken with his head cut off. He missed multiple chances in the game, but he did set up for Tazy on a nice assist. His positioning's excellent. Like, I understand why this guy is a striker in like the middle tiered clubs of our league. Like I said, great positional sense. You can tell he's an intelligent player, but he's just so technically limited.
Great hair.
No, absolutely not. As someone on there with only a few hairs remaining, I'd rather be bald than have Retegui's hair. Anyway,
you don't like the bleach blonde mohawk / rat tail kind of thing.
I was is it like trying to be a mullet? I have no clue what he's trying to accomplish.
I don't know. It's like a mohawk, but it goes all the way back. It's kind of. I think it's it's his signature look in the way that Lautaro has that ridiculous, block of hair on the top of his head kind of thing.
And also, I would like to see Raspadori get a start. He looked pretty good. Got a goal as a late sub. If I don't really understand playing Pellegrini as a support striker, but if you're going to continue to do that, I'd like to see Raspadori get a chance. All right. So, as you all know, this is an extremely popular English language Inter podcast, easily one of the top 20 English language Inter podcasts in the world. We just have thousands upon thousands of listeners, and we do receive
Now is the
audience
time.
feedback.
Now is the time to move to a paid subscription model.
Please enjoy this
low,
message from our sponsors.
for the low price of $100 a month. And if you sign up for 12 months, you get a special deal of $1,500 for the year.
You can either subscribe on Patreon or you can subscribe to Irfan's OnlyFans.
Subscribe to LinkedIn.
Yeah, there you go.
But anyway, so we get, flooded with listener feedback, just absolutely flooded with it. And we do try to read them all. And the latest feedback we've been getting has been accusatory. It challenged the character of a man on the show. Jay, I want to be self-indulgent for a second. I want to talk about some personal psychology, which is your negativity towards Inter. Is this Inter specific for you? And if so, why are you so negative towards Inter? And if it's not Inter specific and it bleeds into your personal life, we don't need to have a therapy session, but I'm just curious, like, what causes your, like, and I honestly don't think you're that negative, Jay. I really don't. I'm having some fun with the listener feedback we got, but I think you're just a perfectionist. How would you frame this?
I think I'm a wonderfully positive person with a great outlook on life. And I think the one black hole in my life is this football club. I've seen this football club snatch humiliation from the jaws of victory more times than I can care to count. I've seen this team go out of its way to ridicule itself for years upon years of my fandom. And so it's not so much, I think, generally speaking, I'm quite optimistic, but I think I tend to derive great pleasure from making fun of this club's many making fun worthy moments over the years. So that's where I'll place it. It's fun to look back upon the time when we were 1-0 up against Bologna in the Conte season, and Bologna had a man sent off and we got a penalty, and if Lautaro had converted that penalty, we would have been 2-0 up at home with 10 minutes left against 10 men, but instead he missed, and then we somehow lost at home to 10 men Bologna in the last 10 minutes of the game. You can't make that kind of stuff up. It's honestly hilarious. So I don't know. I think people are a bit sensitive about when you make fun of things that they like or that they attribute a lot of value or respect to. So that's probably why. But me, I maybe it's the Australian irreverence, but I do like to kind of just, nothing is sacred. You kind of take the piss out of everything. So Inter is unfortunately just an easy target to make fun of sometimes.
For me, a lot of my negativity just comes down to my age, basically. When I first got into the sport, it was really around 2000 and like the 2004 to 2006 timeframe, and we immediately went on, won a few Scudettos, but I was like 13 years old, you know what I mean? And I don't know about you guys, but I can barely remember anything from when I was 13. So then by the time I'm in high school, in college, and I can, stuff that was more recent stuff I can still remember, this club was an absolute joke for 10 years, which is a horribly long period of time. So just for me, from a recency bias standpoint, like everything pre-Conte was more or less a joke. And that's the stuff I can most easily recall to memory, just given my age relative to when this stuff was happening. I have to point out that Inter is not popular whatsoever in the Midwestern United States. So if you think about like the internet and stuff, when I started spending time on the internet, it was really, once again, like the 2010s. And that's when I was able to connect with other Inter fans. And I started paying more attention to the club. And, 2008, when I was 12 years old, the only people I was talking about Inter with were my family, my dad. Whereas now you get older, you have a wider range of network, and I'd say most of the interculture online is self-deprecating in the way Jay described it, especially when the club was so bad for so long. On the other hand, we have the most optimistic person I know about this club, Miko. So, Miko, what gives you optimism about every single thing this club does?
Yeah, as maybe some people know from the introduction, from the maybe first episode, I followed the club for over 20 years now. So there's been like ups and downs throughout that period, and I don't know. I remember that when we won the treble, I was actually quite critical and pessimistic towards Inter and whatever the club is doing at any given time. Uh, those were the times when Inter was winning the Scudetti every year, and then we needed to make something happen in the Champions League, and we never succeeded until the treble. But before the treble, I remember I was very pessimistic and like was not angry, but like very expectations were high and shit like that. And maybe it comes with the age or like seeing all kind of stuff with Inter that now that we are actually doing well, I just want to enjoy it because the banter era that was horrible. that was very nasty stuff to try to follow Inter, and I maybe inactively tried to like forget all that, all those painful years from my memory. That's why I don't seem to remember half of the stuff you guys remember from those banter era years. And now that we are those years are now over, and Marotta came in and he started to build this thing we have now. I just want to simply enjoy all the trophies we are now getting, because 10 years ago we weren't getting those trophies and we wouldn't be getting those for multiple years, but now we are
Enjoy them while
getting
they
those.
last.
Yeah, exactly. So
We just saw the last one. It's funny though, because I'm thinking back to I don't even know how long ago this was now, but like Mourinho's first season. And Jay, I'll give you $1 if you can name who we finished second to in the Champions League group stage in Mourinho's first season.
Wait.
was it a
Mourinho's.
Greece
Was it
side?
Panathinaikos?
That's right, Panathinaikos. And I remember watching this. We collapsed because we beat Panathinaikos in the away fixture, and then we lost to them at home. We ended up finishing second in the group, and we drew Manchester United.
I remember that game. They scored two headers. I think it was Vidic and Cristiano. But
Yep. After the first, you all remember the home leg, which was a 0-0 draw, which was the whole Santon pocketed Ronaldo, who is this guy game.
yeah, and then at Old Trafford we hit the post twice through Ibrahimovic and Adriano. Did we not play that Cyprus team in the group stage as well, like Anarthosis or something?
Yeah, that's right. But I remember that season, I was like, we're never winning the Champions League. Like, if we can't do it with Mourinho in this favorable of a group, like, it's never happening. And then, of course, you all know what happened the next year, proved wrong. So maybe I've always just been pessimistic. Irfan, you're by far the most even-keeled member of this podcast. Is that just because of your life as a lawyer? You don't have a choice but to? How does that work?
Yeah, it's like a combination of life, profession, and old age creeping up on me. No, just kidding. I think part of the thing with that I'm very curious about when it comes to Inter fans is, all of us are kind of sitting in countries where, football is probably not the premier sport, and then on top of that, Serie A is definitely not the most premier kind of league to follow. And so I think some of our view and experience with Inter is also forged in kind of the defense of Serie A and the defense of Italy and the defense of our team. And also we've been experienced Inter fans for long enough and Serie A fans for long enough where we've kind of seen what this league was and what it's been capable of and the great moments that it's gone through, including our club, but then also seeing just the breakdowns and just the deterioration over years as well. So I think it's not uncommon to be a little jaded about that experience. To be honest, Miko did a good job of explaining why he's positive, which is that he kind of came out of the banter years and was thankful that we have a kind of quality and sustainable, consistent sort of good team nowadays, which I think makes a lot of sense. But for the more exuberant and positive fans that I see of any kind of football team are ones that are new to this. Like you talk to a Manchester City fan who became a fan in like the last 10 years and they're full of just, excitement and exuberance and positivity. Like as far as they're concerned, there's no better team in the world. And Haaland is the greatest striker of all time. And it's just everything is just rosy because they've never seen any sort of adversity. I think most of our opinions have been formed in some sort of adverse conditions, and I think that kind of guides a lot of what Inter fans and honestly what Serie A fans are like. So my biggest question, honestly, is, and maybe some of our listeners, which it's funny enough, these are probably the most unlikely listeners that we have, but if any of our listeners who are in Italy could let us know kind of if there's any defining feature of Inter fans in Italy, and if any of them are, or if they tend to be as jaded as we are, or as negative as we can sometimes be perceived to be, that would be an interesting thing for me, because I think our views are a combination of, watching minority sports in a country that doesn't care that much about, our primary sport that we care about. But then also just having experienced what an Inter fan is like for like the last 20 or plus years, I think really kind of toughens your outlook and view on this sort of stuff. And you can go in two directions. You can be like Miko and you can be thankful that we, again, have some sort of consistency and some winning. And we've come a long way from the Jonathans and Nagatomos and Guarines starting in our squad. And, now we have a consistent product that's pretty good. And we've, had some winning and some trophies in the last, 3 years. Or you can kind of be a little bit more jaded, like maybe Jay is, and, expect a lot more. And to be fair to Jay, I honestly don't think Jay's that negative, but I do think he has extremely, extremely high expectations. And not just of Inter, but I think of most, Serie A teams and most products. Like we joke a lot about his Milan fandom, but he's not scared to call out players who he thinks suck. And I think one of the things that defines him is that he expects greatness when he watches teams play. And that's one sort of fan that we also have and need. So high expectations, I think, is not bad. What I always say, it's like, we don't want to have soft bigotry of low expectations for our team. We want to have high expectations. So I don't have an issue with Jay being a little bit more demanding. But yes, we the Milan jesting can often be a little grating. But for those of us who know him, we know it's a total joke.
I'll tell you what's not a joke. It's Milan's Scudetto chances for this season.
After their 2 points through games,
you're writing them off after 2 games, but no, they'll be there. Just watch.
Do you guys? We'll get into this when we preview Milan next week. Do you think if we beat them in the derby, Fonseca gets sacked?
I think it's too early still. I don't know.
No, because the win against Liverpool will have bought him some goodwill.
Oh gosh.
I love it. Yeah, maybe that's the perfect way. Win against Liverpool, so then they can lose against us and still keep Fonseca.
So we're gonna lose against City, so we can beat Milan. Is that it, Miko?
Well, not exactly.
All right. Well, now that we're done being self-indulgent, it's gonna be a shorter episode this week, I think. Let's just wrap up with hitting on the Monza fixture, which is next Sunday, a week from now. lots of change at Monza this summer. So their manager left, took Colpani with him, went to Fiorentina to replace Italiano. As a result, they brought in Nesta, which makes a ton of sense when you consider who owns Monza. There are still a lot of names you'll recognize on this team sheet, whether it be Petagna,
Daniel
Pessina.
Maldini.
Yes, that's right, Maldini. Uh, we were briefly linked with Calderola this summer as a potential center back replacement before he went and signed Palacios. But with that being said, Monza have not played well at all to start this season. They're struggling to score goals. They're struggling to produce results. So while in past seasons, I think we've been able to look at this Monza team and go, hey, this is a team that's, should be 10th challenging for a conference league spots. I don't know if that's the case anymore. This might just be settling into a firm, like lower half of the table club. They have 2 draws and a loss through 3 matches. Miko, what are your thoughts on this edition of Monza?
Yeah, I watched a bit the Fiorentina match when they led the match. They led the match 2-0, but ended up drawing. So they have like 2 points at the moment.
Yeah, that was a Robin Gosens 96th minute goal that Fiorentina scored.
Yeah. So 2 points, 2 goals scored in 3 games. That's not too.
It sounds a lot like Milan.
Not too impressive. Well, Milan has at least 5 goal scores, so there's something. But yeah, not too impressive, and the opponents haven't been like super tough. I'm not too impressed, but I don't know. I think for Inter, this is like we should win them with our bench, like no questions asked. And I feel like they should do a bit better, but maybe it's just an adjustment period with the coach at the moment. I was looking some stats they have, and they they don't look good. I'm going to list few stats where they are like last in the whole league. They are like shots on target per match. They are last one. Big chances, last one. Only 1 in 3 matches. Touches in opposition box. Possession 1 final third per match. So it doesn't like sound too good for them. My favorite, the expected goals. That's also 1.1 in 3 matches. Final, like last one in the league. So yeah, they need to definitely improve their performance if they want to avoid the relegation battle. But it's only 3 matches, so maybe we need to wait like few more 10 matches to draw any kind of conclusions. But for this, yeah. Go on.
Yeah, the Inter players, the ex-Inter players on this club are incredible. I mean, they have Calderola, which he'll probably score against us because he likes to do that. And then they have D'Ambrosio, Sensi, Gagliardini. I mean, this team is a force. And what I think is hilarious, is that they also have some players that we never really had, but I feel like our fans always maybe disproportionately liked more than they were probably worth, which is Petagna as a forward and then Pessina as a midfielder. So honestly, like the team itself, just based on the name power, should be pretty good. They're probably adjusting to a new manager and some talent loss. Colpani was a pretty big
Also
player.
lost Di Gregorio to Juve.
Exactly, yeah. So they're kind of recovering from that, I think. But I expect them to bounce back and be a little bit better. I mean, I think the quality in the squad is good enough that they can challenge for, at least punch a little bit beyond the relegation battle. But it's hard to say. I really like Nesta though. It's the guy's always been one of my favorite players for Italy. So I hope he does well, but I don't know. I expect us to be able to deal with them pretty easily. But again, there's a couple of players there who always like to score against us and give us some trouble. So let's see.
So the real question for this match, in my opinion, is not so much what's Monza going to do, but it's what is Inzaghi going to throw out there. So as you all know, this is the start of a tough week where we also have City and Milan. You have players coming back from international break. I was looking; it looked like Lautaro and Alvarez started together for Argentina a couple days ago. I don't know what Argentina will do for their second game. But long story short, they'll be flying back from halfway across the world. So, Jay, as you look at this match against Monza, knowing what lies ahead, how would you approach the starting lineup? Who do you want to see playing? And how do you balance resting players for two of the most important games of the season?
It's hard to say. I mean, obviously, the preceding games against Man City and Milan are significantly more important, but ultimately, 3 points is 3 points. And in some ways, it makes sense to take the path of least resistance, which is securing 3 points at Monza. That's not to say we play our bench against Milan, obviously, but we need to win, is what I'm saying. And we don't have the luxury of playing Monza in between Man City and Milan, in which case you could hypothetically put out your best team against Man City, rest a few against Monza, and then back to the full strength lineup. It's not like that. So for me, I'm quite bullish on these kinds of things. I tend to be quite traditional, for lack of a better word. I think we just need to go all full steam ahead into all the games, just start the best or as close to the best that we can afford against Monza, and then goes without saying, play the best lineups we can put together against Man City and Milan as well. And then after that game, we have Udinese. So after the derby, we have Udinese. So there's your chance to rotate slightly. But even Udinese away is, it's never a walk in the park. Even if Udinese were on the cusp of relegation last season, for whatever reason, it just seems like one of those difficult places to travel to, like the Bentagodi or away to Cagliari or something. It's a tough place to travel. So yeah, I agree. We're going through a bit of a gauntlet, and I think the key places to rotate are going to be obviously the forwards, but also the Fratesi and Zielinski. I think now's his time to kind of get some valuable minutes, not just for him, but also for what it means for the squad and being able to rotate and rest a few players as well. So Zielinski played 80 minutes against, I can't remember who they played, but he played 80 minutes for Scotland. The other day. So, that kind of implies he's ready to play at least half a game for us, So what I don't want to see is Mkhitaryan playing 90 minutes against Monza, then 90 minutes against Man City, and 90 minutes against Milan kind of thing. I want ample rotation between the midfield trio, and this is where someone like Taremi needs to step up and hopefully get his first goal during this stretch as well, because we can't have Lautaro and especially Thuram playing the full 90 for all these for the next month or so either. I think, I don't know, I just get the impression Thuram expends a lot more energy than Lautaro, given he's, he probably makes more sprints throughout the 90 than Lautaro, and he's more likely to make plays down the wing and go for these, runs from deep and all that kind of stuff and dribble with the ball. So it might just be like that is the impression that I get. So we want to manage him carefully, especially considering that he's had a really good start to the season. So yeah, it's all about just careful rotation against Monza and Udinese, but realistically, I don't think we should be really thinking of like whole stock changes to the squad, like no Martinez, no Asllani starting games, no, Thomas Palacios or all that kind of stuff. Like I said, I mean, if this was Conte, he'd just say, fuck you, don't complain. You're all gonna, you're gonna just suffer through it. And then he'll probably rotate in the Champions League match against Red Star on the 2nd of October. And, I've criticized Limone for over-rotating in the past. And last season, I think he did a better job of managing our resources. But, I still think it's too early to rotate for us. We're not yet in like the groove of winning game after game and just, constantly playing. We're not in that cycle yet. We just started the season, then we had our momentum broken by this diabolical international break. So yeah, too early to rotate. So we can't afford to take things for granted at this stage in the season.
Yeah, I will say Udinese are actually tied with us in points right now. I know it's still very early, but they've gone off to a pretty good start to start the season. They haven't, I don't think they've played anyone particularly great, but they've done a good job. And they're fourth right now, but they're level on points with Inter. If we were to rotate, I think we should save our best starting 11 for Manchester City to just give them a real kind of go. I'm not as concerned about playing the 14th and 15th place teams in the league, Milan and Monza, who are 1 point away from relegation to bottom half teams. So I don't think we need to worry too much about Monza and Milan. I would kind of focus on Udinese and Manchester City.
I kind of view this. I know what's going to happen, which is we're going to give City our best shots, but I would much rather just let what happens against City happen, so we take full points from Milan. Like I think Jay put it best last episode. The City game's a bit of a free hit, and no one's really expecting us to win that game, and us progressing in the Champions League is not contingent on that game. So while we all want to win to silence the English fans, just to make a statement across the continent, the much more important game in the grand scheme of things is the Milan Derby, in my opinion.
But it also doesn't. I just feel like it doesn't need so much preparation and focus for us. I mean, we talked about this with that Atalanta match. Like, we dominate Milan. Like, it's embarrassing for them in the last like 2 years what we've done to them, and so I just don't feel like we need to worry too much about the match. I mean, it's a derby. It's always going to be something important, but they're not in great form. They have all sorts of turmoil going on internally at that club right now, and recent history has shown that we can dispatch of them pretty easily. I want us to put a good showing out against Manchester City. Obviously, don't downplay the derby, but I think we could do both. And look, at least we all know that Mkhitaryan will play 90 minutes all matches. And so we don't have to worry about that, at least.
I saw some early prediction for the Monza starting lineup, and there were not a lot of rotation, but a bit. It was Augusto for Di Marco, and then it would be Fratesi for Barella. But I don't know. The early predictions
might be hurt now. We're gonna have to kind of see what happens there.
Yeah, the early predictions, they don't mean much, especially like it's over a week still, or week from the before the match is on. But I would want to see rotating the wing backs if possible, because especially Di Marco, I wanna have him like on top condition in every match. We really need him and his offensive game, because I feel that he is a type of guy who, like, his game drops off when he's getting tired, and that's the sub I want to see, or the rotation. I want to see if Augusto can start this match, this Monza match. I mean, but
DeMarco played 90 minutes, I think, right, against France, and he's projected to start against Israel tomorrow. So if he starts both games for Italy, I think you've got to give Augusto a run.
Yeah. As for the midfielders, I don't know. Guess you can use Fratesi. I feel like Monza is. I don't know if they give us a good fight in the midfield. I'm not sure about that. Except now just looking the stats, they are like 8th in the league with the average possession. So it's like even around the same as Juve almost, better than Napoli or Atalanta. But maybe these stats, we shouldn't look too much in these stats because it's only 3 games.
So, yeah, well, we also know that when Aslani starts, he scores. So, just saying.
Do we? Do we really?
At least once we do.
Yeah, but yeah, I would, like Jay said, I would just go. Most of our starters should go with for this match. Just secure the 3 points, and then look for the rotation in the second half.
Miko, you were talking about some advanced stats. I was just looking. Monza's total expected goals from their first 3 games total is 1.
Yeah. I mentioned the expected goals. They are like last in the whole league. So.
Yeah, this is hilarious. All right. Well, we can. We are. I'm supposed to be keeping track of this. I'm not going to lie. I kept track after the first week and fell off. I will go back and do a recon to get us some standings. But just for the sake of the standings, we need some Monza predictions. Go ahead, Irfan.
Oh, man. So much of this depends on me, whether Asllani starts or not. I'm really bullish on Asllani right now for some reason. I don't know why.
There's all that talk about Richie earlier.
That must be it. It's put me in defense mode of my boy. No, I think we, regardless of what we trot out there, because I know my boy Mickey will be playing 90 minutes, I'm confident in predicting a 2-0 Inter win with goals from, I just have this feeling that Lautaro's still not going to score. I don't know. I just, it's a gut feeling. I'm going to go with goals from Hakan and Fratesi.
Jay?
I think we'll take it 3-1. I think Thuram will continue his good form. And I say Taremi gets his first goal as well. I'll give the third to some shithead like Mkhitaryan or Asllani.
Miko, what do you have?
I'm going to go with 3-0. We're not going to concede a goal. No. 3-0 Inter, yeah. And yeah, Lautaro will not score yet. He's gonna save it for the derby. I'm gonna go.
Not gonna score against City either.
Yeah, let's see. Yeah, I'm gonna go with Fratesi, Taremi, and then maybe Thuram. Thuram is gonna continue scoring. He's our main guy this season, so let's go with that.
I haven't loved what I've seen from our defense so far this season. Maybe I'm just haunted by the first match against Genoa, but I'll go with a 2-1 win for Inter. This is finally the week that Pavard scores, fully rested, didn't play or even go to international duty. So give me some French love, Pavard and Thuram on the score sheets. And then there are so many great players on Monza. It's hard to pick one to score, but it's going to be Maldini himself.
Oh man, now you got Jay second guessing his prediction.
I need to go to Jay for Jay's hot betting tips, but after that prediction, I don't know if he's going to be able to speak. So go ahead, Jay.
Didn't Maldini already score against us at some point? I feel like he scored against us when he played for Spezia or something.
Yeah, yes.
He did.
A few years ago.
Yeah, so just another victory for the Maldinis of Milan.
We did win that game, though. Yeah, I actually don't know if we did. I take that back.
I don't think we did. We actually lost that game.
Yeah, that was
right,
that was when we had the 12 losses in the league or something like that. Like,
yeah.
We had that win for House
late.
Maldini.
That's right.
Pretty late.
Hostess Milan has come to beating us in 3 years.
Yeah, House Maldini of Casterly Rock.
Anyway, here's hot betting tips.
I don't know. There's not a whole lot of, I don't think there's a whole lot of great picks from the upcoming round of Serie A, to be honest. I'm tempted to say Genoa is going to upset Roma when they play. Milan is obviously going to beat Venezia. And I think Fiorentina have a good chance of upsetting Atalanta as well. So it's a tough one. Like I said, there's a lot of kind of games that could go one way or the other, but my hot pick for this week is going to be Empoli 0, Juventus 0.
Ooh, I like that.
Ooh,
that's a good one.
We have not talked about Juve at all this episode. I'm sure we'll get into them in future episodes, but it was nice to see them drop points in a scrappy draw against Roma just to peg them back a bit. Didn't want them to have too much momentum. Didn't want them to be feeling too good heading into the international break.
That's right. I love a good pegging.
Oh man.
Yeah. All right. There, a good optimistic note to end on. So we'll wrap up there. We'll be back next week to recap Monza and preview Man City. We'll catch you all then.
Have a good one.
Yep.
Yep.